4 days after he vanished in Kanpur, Lamborghini brat Shivam Mishra, who belongs to a tobacco tycoon family, was finally arrested today. You saw NDTV's news break early this morning. And then, in just 6 hours, he walked out on bail. 4 days in hiding, just 6 hours in custody. Because the Kanpur District Court has chosen to lean on a familiar line whenever any court is dealing with the privileged and the rich. Bail is a right. Poor Shivam Mishra surely is entitled to bail, right? Of course it is. But is the court blind to everything that has happened since the crash that NDTV has highlighted in front of the entire country? Start with what happened at the scene. Shivam Mishra was not detained, questioned, or even secured by the police immediately. He was physically removed from the accident site by his private bouncers who were following in a car behind him without the permission of the police. Suspicious act number one. Then came the images. Those same bouncers were caught on camera trying to yank off the Lamborghini's number plate. Look at these pictures. Why would anyone yank off the number plate of a car immediately after an accident? Suspicious act number two. What were they trying to hide? Next, the defense. A sudden claim of epilepsy. No medical record, no history, no evidence. Nothing has been submitted so far. And now the most astonishing twist. Every single eyewitness, including the injured persons, initially confirmed that Shivam was driving. Suddenly, a mystery driver named Mohan appears from nowhere to claim that he was behind the wheel. One injured witness has now changed his statement also. We all know how that happens. What we are seeing is not a defense, but a sickeningly familiar pattern. Evasion, influence, money, and then probably witness manipulation. That, of course, a court will decide. Every action by Shivam Mishra, his father KK Mishra and other family members has radiated arrogance and a belief that the law is negotiable, that you can purchase the law at the right price. Let us also be honest about one thing, viewer, because you have gotten used to us calling out the judiciary on this show. He was arrested today only because of sustained media pressure, because NDTV kept asking questions. Without that spotlight, would there even have been an arrest? I want you to honestly think about that for a moment. If there were no media walas and cameras, and if I wasn't spotlighting the show every single day, would he have been arrested? And this is where the larger story lies, because in our country, ordinary citizens run from pillar to post for years for the basics of justice. They are met with arrogant officials and lazy judges who would rather have the common man or common woman keep coming back to court for the smallest things. The other day in the newspaper, I read about a man who was released from jail after 43 years after wrongfully being accused of murder. That is the condition of our judiciary for people who have no means. But for Shivam Mishra, in 6 hours, he gets bail despite multiple suspicious actions pointing to malified intent that I, not even a lawyer, just an ordinary journalist, have listed before you. So tonight, I issue an open challenge to Shivam Mishra and to his family. Come out and face our questions here on NDTV. Bring all your lawyers. Bring your bouncers too if you wish. I will allow them into my studio. I promise you will not be harmed. Face the real India, the one that you attempt to escape by zooming in your supercar only to be rescued like a coward by paid henchmen. I will ask you the questions that you've never been asked by your soulless parentage or your completely pointless upbringing. India has no place for the likes of you. The judiciary loves you. The system loves you. The government will not send bulldozers to your mansion in Kanpur. Come out and take my questions. I will be waiting. And here's a look at how Shivam Mishra took the system for a jolly good ride. And I want you to pay very close attention to this, viewer, because this is a pattern. We see it over and over again. And since people don't get punished, everybody who is ever in this situation believes this is what you need to do. He fled the crash scene with his bouncers. Immediately, not for a moment did he stop to help the injured. The bouncers were helping him in the car, not the people who were injured. The cops were denied entry to the house a day after the crash. You saw the Kanpur police humiliatingly left standing outside the house, banging on the gate. But Shivam Mishra had fled Kanpur and got admitted to a hospital in Delhi, doubtless with his bouncers in tow. His father, KK Mishra, who's a tycoon who owns a tobacco company of some size, claimed that his son, this brat, Shivam Mishra, the coward in question, was not driving the Lamborghini. The video showed Shivam taken out from the driver's side and that there was nobody in the passenger's seat. This Lamborghini car, this supercar, is a two-seater. Only two people can fit in it, and the only person taken out of the car was Shivam. So there is no question of any driver. But 3 days later, a driver shows up. He emerges out of nowhere, named Mohan, claims that it was he, not Shivam, who was driving. Where was the driver in all the pictures on that first day? Nobody has seen this driver. He's a phantom of the Mishra Parivar who has suddenly been brought in front of the media and in front of the courts. On February the 12th, he's finally been arrested in Kanpur and then produced in court. The police confirmed that Shivam was driving the Lamborghini. Even the police is saying it. Arrested after 4 days, but got bail in just 6 hours. That is the reality of Shivam Mishra and the Lamborghini story. Where does this leave us? What does one do in a country of this kind where you've seen 4 days of sustained media coverage of a story, but clearly the judiciary doesn't give a damn? Suhail Seth, Managing Partner, Counselage India and columnist, an actor and best-selling author. Shilpa Mittal is the sister of the late Siddharth Sharma. He is a young man who was killed by a speeding Mercedes being driven by an underage boy who did not face any justice. She has been fighting a legal battle to ensure justice for her brother Siddharth, who was hit in North Delhi. It's a story that I had covered in an earlier organization, and she is still fighting that case even now. So, Suhail, with your permission, I'm going to start with Shilpa.
Please.
Because she is someone who has been in the trenches of facing VIP culture, whether it is in the police, whether it is in the judiciary, whether it is on the roads. I have seen her going from pillar to post, literally, as a grieving sister, trying to just be heard and get justice for her brother, her younger brother, Siddharth. What does it feel like, Shilpa, to see Shivam Mishra get bail after 6 hours today?
It actually feels like deja vu and a complete failure again. Like this system is hell-bent on just making this citizen of this country just feel like nobody, like you don't matter. You are just a vote bank who only matters during the voting time and none of the other times. We are just, जैसे कहते हैं भीड़ है हम हमारी कोई वैल्यू नहीं है in short. So if you're rich and famous, you just get out and you can just get away with literally anything, and that includes the murder here. Everywhere. I mean, you know why he was driving? I wouldn't even blame him actually, because he knows he's going to get away with it. And who is giving him that power? It's the judiciary of this country which is giving him that power. And it is given by our, no matter which party it is, I think, everybody is just making it so okay. It's not an accident, first of all. It's actually, it should be called reckless killing. It should be stopped. It shouldn't be called as accident. I do not agree with the word accident. Accident means it happens accidentally. When you're driving such a fast car in so much of speed, where we don't even have roads proper to drive normally, you're speeding at 100, obviously you're going to kill somebody. So obviously it's not accident, it's a reckless killing. And we have allowed it again and again by the system. Actually, the system is to be, held accountable for.
Agree.
Because they do have options. They did have options when I went to Supreme Court to put a very serious charge, maybe a non-bailable offense, and obviously make it some stringent, law. And
yes.
But they didn't do it. I mean, imagine they didn't do it. They disappointed me so badly, and I'm still fighting. It's going to be 10 years on 4th of April 2026. And you know where I'm stuck? I'm still stuck whether we are going to think that, oh, this is going to be 304 or 304A. Can you believe that? The
Yeah.
trial hasn't even started. And this is me when I'm fighting literally every day with the system. And still, I haven't gotten anywhere. Imagine somebody who doesn't have power, money, or strength to go in the court every day, sit there all day, and wait for the justice. Nobody can do it. The
Yeah.
system is tiring you purposely so that these rich and famous people, or whoever who is, even is like, just above the somebody who can pay, in short, can just get away with murder in this country. And this is what the system is telling you again and again. I think judiciary needs to be held accountable, and I think the country has to be, I mean, the government has to be held accountable for
Yeah,
this.
no, I completely agree with you. And that's the reason why I've called out the Kanpur District Court. Suhail, you've been on multiple shows of mine where I have, gone out on a limb and, confronted the judiciary on this. It's probably only a matter of time before I'm served a contempt notice. But Shilpa is right. This is about the judiciary. One can be cynical about the government. One can be cynical about the police at one end, even though I call them out, every single day. I'm wondering why Yogi hasn't sent his bulldozers to the home of this tycoon in Kanpur, for instance. But the judiciary has the power to make a difference. Shilpa has just reminded us that this year is 10 years that she's been fighting for justice, and she is still knocking the doors of the court. It is incredible in today's story, Suhail, that this guy who's been in the harsh media spotlight, national outrage, not based on sentiment. Nobody is saying don't give him bail based on public sentiment. But it is very clear that there have been suspicious actions by him, his family, his bouncers, his legal team, his crew, his, the extended people in his staff. And yet there is this alacrity to let him off, Suhail.
So here's the thing, and I totally agree with Shilpa. It is actually the lowest level of our judicial system which is totally compromised or incompetent or just plain inept. Imagine, Shiv, if you hadn't taken up the cudgels of, as you rightly said, Shilpa's case and invited her to the program today. And Shilpa, our commiserations and deepest condolences for the loss of your brother. And if you hadn't taken up the case of this Kanpur rascal, nothing would have happened. So the media can only do this much and no more. Shiv, I wish you were a judge, because then things would have been different, but you aren't. I'm not. So we are totally hamstrung and we are shackled by an impervious, insensitive judiciary, plus a police system which can totally be bought or compromised. What I'm amazed at, and I'm so glad you mentioned Yogi Adityanath's name is, that you mentioned it, under his rule, the law and order situation in Uttar Pradesh had improved.
Yes.
People weren't getting a free pass as they used to earlier under previous regimes. I'm surprised that, Yogi Adityanath has allowed this. Okay, they suspended a police superintendent or whoever it was. But this is the time when the higher judiciary needs to do three things. Number one, they need to suspend the police officials who were in cahoots with the judicial officers in Kanpur's lower court. Number two, the Supreme Court should take over the matter suo motu, saying this cannot be allowed. Because what are you doing? You're actually defaming not a Shiv Arur or a Shilpa Mittal or a Suhail Seth. You are showing the middle finger to the judiciary, to the law enforcement, saying, Jo karna hai kar lo. I have the money, I have the power, I have the influence. I will do what the hell you want. A, B. This is setting the most terrible precedent. If you're rich, if you're influential, if you're powerful, the signal that you're giving out is that in India, the rule of law does not apply to me. It applies to everyone else but me. So why in our democracy do we have a special status for rogues and criminals? Because they can subvert the judicial process. And finally, it is not the media's job alone.
Exactly.
It is not the media's job.
Yeah.
I have not seen a single civic or a civil citizen of importance from Kanpur calling these people out, because it's all a cozy club. You see, these people want to be invited by that chap, whoever the hell he is. They want to be part of that cozy club, so no one will take up the cudgels. Now, if this person had been poor, he would have been behind bars.
Yeah.
What has this brat done? You have seen CCTV footage of him being dragged out of the car. It's almost as if he didn't exist. The car didn't exist, and the car was driven by a driver who actually suddenly came out of the blue to say, "Oh, I did it." And we all know Shiv. The poor driver must have been paid a fortune.
Yeah.
Said, "Tum chup raho, ye tum accept kar lo, 4 saal mein nikal jaoge." But this is tragic.
Yeah.
You have now outsourced criminality and your own offense to the poor. So you're actually mocking the poor,
Very
mocking the judiciary, and mocking law enforcement all in one go.
This is such an excellent point, and I didn't think of it. Thanks for bringing that up, Sohail. By putting this poor driver here and undoubtedly paying him a sum of money and saying, you take the fall for this and you'll be in jail for a while and we'll look after you when you come out, is such contempt for the poor. It is such contempt for the underprivileged. The rich cannot face justice. Shivam Mishra, that shameless brat, cannot face justice. So, chalo, let's call the driver, throw some money in his face and say, you please do this for us. And Shilpa's been doing this for 10 years. The point.
An investigative journalist in Kanpur has actually even bothered to uncover if there is a nexus between Shivam's father and any other political party.
Yeah.
Once you start shaming the political parties will wash their hands off.
Yeah.
So no one has done it. It's left to a Shiva rule or an NDTV to take up the cudgels and then leave it. How can you? And why should only you be the one who does everything in these matters? Why should one media channel be the only channel that does it?
Yeah. No, and the reason I brought Shilpa onto this story is because it's a familiar pattern. That's the point. There is something so familiar about it. Every single thing that happens in the same sequence, Shilpa.
Yes.
Same sequence.
Absolutely.
Decade
Driver
of grief
comes and
for this
everything.
poor woman. A decade of grief for Shilpa. A decade of knocking at the doors of justice for Shilpa.
Yeah.
Can you imagine you have not even allowed her to get closure or to grieve or to believe that justice still runs, fair in India? You have actually destroyed her confidence in our society and the governance principles which we should follow. So where are we talking about dharma? Where are we talking about, the rule of law? Nothing. And this is Shilpa who we know or you know. There are a zillion Shilpas who don't have the capacity to fight for their family.
Like Suhail, for instance, the parents of the two techies who were killed in the Porsche case in Pune, which I've been sort of campaigning against.
I know.
They have practically given up. They have no power. They live in a remote part of Madhya Pradesh, in Jabalpur, if I'm not mistaken. They don't have the means to follow all of this up legally. I had Shilpa on a show recently as well. But Shilpa, the question I want to ask you now is, it is shocking that you have spent 10 years. I know you don't consider it a waste because you've been crusading for justice for Siddharth. So you cannot see that as a waste because you want justice for him. But 10 years is a whole decade. If the judiciary had given you justice in a year or two, because it was clear what had happened in this case, you could have moved on with your life. Of course, you would still be grieving. Of course, you would still miss Siddharth, but you could have moved on with your life.
Yes. But the system didn't do that for me or for my family. So, why I'm fighting this? Because, see, I'm a loser. At the end of the day, I am still not going to get my brother back. But the point I am trying to make here is what I am going through or what I have gone through, nobody else should go through. And I am trying to get somebody behind the bar so that it sets a precedent that no, you cannot get away with murder. Every life matters. And he was somebody's brother, and everybody who dies on the road doesn't deserve that just because you fancy a very fast car and on a very busy road and you think it is okay. No, it is not okay. And I'm going to fight till the end, and I'm going to make sure that this happens. And, because of this fight, 2-3 things has happened. That there was no juvenile justice law, so which came in picture. The parents were never arrested. That came in picture because we fought for it. But my point is, I am still a loser. But I don't want any other sister to go through or any other parents to go through what my parents are going through. And I am pretty sure that someday the system is going to wake up. And that is the least I can do, I think, in to honor my brother. He lost his life. I hope that his death brings some good to this society. I love my country, and I shouldn't be fighting for justice is what my point is. I should be given. This is my right. I have done my, I come from a family where my father is an ex-Navy. My grandfather was a Azad Hind force guy. I mean, we are for the country, and what do we get? A delayed system? You know how disappointing it is? It is like waste. What did my grandfather fought for? What did my father do for the nation? What is the nation doing for me?
Yeah.
So I'm fighting for it.
Make a
So it is such a
suggestion,
shameful
Shilpa.
thing.
May I make a suggestion through Shiv?
Yes,
If
go
you
ahead.
send
Cecil.
me just the data points on what happened, I promise you an article within the next 7 days. And because of the inspiring work that my good friend Shiv keeps doing, I make a promise as a simple citizen that we will continue to crusade, because it is not about justice for Siddharth, it's about justice for every person who is run over in a manner which is homicidal, not accidental, and then these cases are allowed to fester like deep grieving wounds.
Yes. Yes.
Shilpa and Sohail, I want to thank you for being with me. This is very, very personal to me. And because I met Shilpa 10 years ago in 2016, when this terrible, terrible act of murder happened on the roads of Delhi. And I've been in touch with Shilpa. Every time something like this happens, she has been kind enough to work through her grief, live through it again, and be with me on show after show. And that shows you that nothing has changed in this country, and that is the most infuriating thing. We will be in touch, Shilpa. Sohail, thank you for making that offer, and I promise we will continue to report this story very, very closely. Thanks to the both of you for being with me here tonight.
Thank you.